Hello and welcome to the Big Seven Stories on Wells Television. I am Bolanli Udueku Ayola. Every week we count down the 7 stories that everyone is talking about, from the news that shakes the nation to the events that are shaping our world. So, if it made the headlines, it's right here. Let's get into the Big Seven. Let's start in Abuja, where the Nigeria Immigration Service has announced a major increase in the cost of international passports. Now, from September 1st, 2025, the price of a standard 32-page passport valid for 5 years will jump up from 50,000 naira to 100,000 naira. The 64-page passport that is valid for 10 years will now cost 200,000 naira, where it previously was at 100,000 naira. Now, for the Nigerians in the diaspora, the fees remain the same. That's $150 for the 5-year passport and $230 for the 10-year option. Now, this is actually the third increase in just 2 years. In August of last year, the cost was raised from 35,000 naira to 50,000 naira for the smaller booklet, and from 70,000 naira to 100,000 naira for the bigger one. Now, the Nigerian Immigration Service has said that this hike is needed to maintain the passport quality and improve service delivery. But many people are saying that it's coming at the wrong time. I mean, the new national minimum wage is at 70,000 naira per month, and the cost of the passport is now higher than what many Nigerians earn in a month. Also, opposition figures like Peter Obi, the candidate for the Labour Party in the last elections, have described this move as insensitive, but the presidency is defending it. They've argued that Nigerians were already paying even more through unofficial bribes, and that this new fees will at least go directly to the government coffers. Next up, a derailment on the Abuja-Kaduna line has reignited concerns over railway vandalism and the government's reactive approach to safety. On August 26, 2025, a passenger train that was bound for Kaduna derailed near the Asham-Kubwa stretch. Of the 618 passengers on board, 6 were injured, although thankfully there were no fatalities. Now, the Nigeria Railway Corporation swiftly suspended the service indefinitely, and they started issuing refunds and medical assistance. In fact, the NRC Managing Director, Dr. Kayode Okwefa, took full responsibility in a public apology that was televised on one of the national television stations. He vowed that there will be safety reforms. He disclosed that both the Nigeria Air Force and the Army were monitoring that particular corridor, and that a safety audit will commence once the Nigerian Safety Investigation Bureau, that's the NSIB, approves access. The federal government, via the Transportation Ministry, set up a 12-member committee to investigate the derailment and recommended long-term safety measures. Track sabotage is what they call it, and it's a persistent issue in Nigeria, where you see vandals go on and take out different parts or different components from the track. In May of 2025, vandals removed rail clips in a place around Delta State, and it caused delays on the Warri-Itakpe route. Earlier in Enugu State, some vandals stripped metal support from a bridge, and it prompted swift NRC and security response. Many people are arguing that Nigeria's response system is not proactive. Instead, it is reactive, waiting until something happens, rushing to respond after crisis, rather than investing ahead in safeguarding vital infrastructure. Now on our third story, to Ibadan, where tensions are mounting in the Oyo State House of Assembly over the approval of a 300 billion naira loan. Now, our APC lawmaker, Honorable Ibrahim Shitu, who is representing Shaki West, claimed that he was excluded from an emergency plenary that was held during the Assembly's recess. That's between July 31st to September 16. Now, he said that during this particular emergency plenary, he said that the loan was approved. He also said that he wasn't informed that the session was going to happen, and he said that based on the timing and the secrecy, it was all really troubling. But the Assembly's leadership has fired back, Now, in a joint statement, the majority leader, Sonjo Adedoye and Wahid Akintayo, labeled Shitu an absentee lawmaker. They accused him of disengagement, and they also warned that his claims are reflecting what they called a complete disconnect from legislative responsibilities. On the other hand, the governor's office has denied that it's a new loan, this 300 million naira. They have clarified that the approval includes 149 billion naira for refinancing, essentially replacing existing debt with better terms, and the 151 billion naira for infrastructure and contractor financing, and so not fresh borrowing. So they're arguing that it's prudent financial management, it's not reckless spending. Also adding fuel to the fire, a civil society group, Concerned Youth Movement, condemned this move. They questioned why such a massive loan was approved when federal allocations have increased. They say that states are now richer due to the FAC, allocations, and they're accusing the assembly of putting the future of Oyo State at risk for what they call selfish reasons. So we have a lawmaker distancing himself from, this particular issue. The assembly labeling him disengaged, and the government insisting that it's responsible finance, not fresh debt, as well as public groups also calling it reckless. This is a heavy headline, a story to watch, with details still coming in the next week. Next on the Big Seven stories, the Central Bank of Nigeria is tightening control over digital payments with a sweeping new requirements. They say that all point of sales, that's POS terminals, must be geo-tagged. This came out in a circular dated August 26, 2025, by the CBN, where they directed that every operational POS machine in Nigeria, whether it's from MoneyPoint, OPay, PalmPay, commercial banks, or any other license providers, must be registered in exact GPS coordinates. It must have its exact GPS coordinates and integrated with dual frequency GPS and linked to the National Central Switch via a special geolocation SDK. They say that the data must be captured and transmitted at the start of every transaction, and machines are only allowed to operate within a 10-meter radius of their registered location. So, any terminal that is operating outside that zone or is not geotagged by October 20 will be deactivated. The CBN has gone on to say that this is, one of their measures to ensure that they curb fraud, to ensure that they stop cloned or ghost terminals, and also to enable real-time oversight of digital payments. Now, for the operators, on the other hand, this means a massive push to upgrade devices, as many will need to run at least Android V10, register all the existing machines, and ensure compliance via the Payment Terminal Service Aggregators, that's the PTSAs. Now, while the banking industry and fintechs are warning that this 60-day window, may be tight, it may be logistically challenging. We know how it is in Nigeria when everyone is rushing to get one thing registered at the same time, the queues, that we're going to see, especially for even the rural operators who probably don't have a bank close to them, who cannot easily make contact with their providers. Some customer rights groups have also welcomed this move. They've called it a bold step towards protecting Nigerians from POS-related fraud. So, in short, if your favorite POS operator or the POS itself isn't geotagged by October 20, it's going dark. Moving on to our next story of the Big Seven for today. On Wednesday, August 27th, 2025, tragedy struck in Minneapolis, USA, during a school-wide mass at the Annunciation Catholic Church, where a lone gunman opened fire through the church windows. Two children, 8-year-old Fletcher Merkel and 10-year-old Harper Moisky, were killed, while around 18 others were also injured, including students and the elderly parishioners. The attacker, we are told, later died by suicide. The suspected attacker, a 23-year-old Robin Westman, was a former student of the school and was armed with multiple legally purchased firearms, including a rifle, a shotgun, and a pistol. Now, investigators are saying that anti-Catholic writings were found in his possessions, And this is why the FBI is treating this case as a domestic terrorism and hate crime investigation. The victims' families, on the other hand, have received heartbreaking statements. Fletcher's father described his son as a lover of cooking and sports, while Harper's parents remembered his laughter and warmth. And both families are now calling for urgent reforms on gun control and mental health. Authorities also recovered a manifesto and materials that suggested that the suspect may have been preparing explosives. In response, the Minneapolis police have tightened patrols around schools and places of worship, while vigils and prayer services are being held across the city. This shooting is once again raising the painful question about safety in school and America's ongoing struggle with gun violence. Almost every time now we hear of a school shooting. Is it time for America to take a look into its laws relating guns? Moving on to our next story. On Friday, August 29, Thailand's Constitutional Court removed Prime Minister Paetongtarn Shinawatra from office for violating ethical standards just 1 year into her tenure. Now, the court's ruling was 6-3, and they found that Paetongtarn's compromised national interest in a leaked phone call with Cambodia's former leader, Hun Sen. In that phone call, she apparently referred to him as uncle. Amidst rising border tensions, they say she even criticized the Thai general, and these actions have been seen as subordinating Thailand's dignity and security. Paetongtarn, who is the youngest ever Thai prime minister and daughter of former prime minister, now becomes the sixth premier connected to the Shinawatra family to be removed by judicial or military means in the past 2 decades. The verdict immediately dismissed not only her position, but also the entire cabinet. So, the deputy prime minister has been appointed the caretaker prime minister, and the parliament is now embarking on the challenge of selecting a new national leader. And our last story on the Big Seven Stories is going to the sporting world. On Wednesday, August 27, 2025, Manchester United were humiliated in the Carabao Cup second round by fourth-tier Grimsby Town. The Red Devils found themselves 2-0 down at halftime after goals from Charles Vernon and ex-United youth alum Tyrell Warren. A late fightback saw Brian Mbeumo and Harry Maguire level the match at 2-2, sending it to penalties. In a dramatic shootout that ended 12-11 in Grimsby's favour, Mbeumo's last penalty crashed off the post, sealing one of United's most embarrassing exits ever, and notably the first time that the club has been knocked out of a cup by a fourth-tier side in their history. Well, Manchester United fans might need more than just paracetamol after that one. Knocked out by a fourth-tier side on penalties. And that's how the week looked. 7 big stories, one clear picture. Thank you for watching the Big 7 Stories on Wells Television. I am Bolale Udueku Ayola. Remember, the news doesn't end when the bulletin does. So stay curious, stay informed, and I'll see you next week with another edition of the Big 7 Stories. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel at Wells Television by clicking on the subscribe button, and also like our Facebook page at Wells Television. Thank you and God bless you.